Okay, by my clock, it is 9:45 a.m. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Laura De La Vega, and I'm from the City of Garland Office of Neighborhood Vitality, and I will be your moderator for this session. You are in the neighborhoods breakout session for that session titled, sorry, that's a lot of sessions, for the session titled Animal Encounters, Pets and Wildlife in Your Neighborhood. And we're going to be chatting about insights on living with wildlife in a suburban setting. And we're also going to be hearing about an overview of the Animal Services Division in the City of Rowlett, Texas. Before we begin, I do want to go over a few participant etiquette items. If you can, please try to hold your questions until the end of the presentation. You can go ahead and throw them in the chat so you don't forget them, and I can monitor them and go back to them and ask them at the end or whenever we have the time to do that. But we do want the presenters to get through their presentations in the time allotted. If you don't have your questions answered, you will have the ability to contact the speaker directly after the summit. During the Q&A time, if you want to ask your questions verbally, you can use the raise your hand feature, and I'll try to call you in the order that you raise your hands. Also, please limit chat and discussion activity to speaker specific questions. If you start to get a little off topic or start wading into the realm of personal situations, I might step in and suggest you take those discussions offline with the speakers. Also, I don't think this is going to happen, but if you start to get a bit rowdy, I will use my muting powers. So without further ado, I am happy to introduce to you your speaker for this session, Mr. Asher Moore. Asher is the Rowlett Animal Services Manager. He's worked professionally with animals for 24 years and non-professionally all his life. So Asher?
So like Laura said, my name is Asher Moore. I am the manager here at Rowlett Animal Services, and I have been doing this for a while. Not just here at Animal Services, but in every aspect of animal care. So today, we are going to talk about wildlife in our area being North Texas. Here in Rowlett, we do have a large body of water that is home to a ton of wildlife. You right there, Laura?
Yes. Sorry, I think.
I was kicked out again.
Yeah, I was kicked out again too. Let's join neighborhoods. Sorry about that. Sorry, that's what I was looking at. I was like, oh no, the breakout session is closing. So, but I think everyone's coming back. Can you hear me, Asher?
Can you hear me, Laura? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh no. Okay, this happened last time. Can you hear me now?
I can just go ahead and continue.
You can go ahead and continue.
Okay. Yeah, apparently we're having some technical difficulties, so sorry about that. Two of us got kicked out. So again, here in Rowlett, we do live by a very large body of water. We do have waterways that pass through, which encourage wildlife to be here. Now, before we really get into what wildlife is here, firstly, do not feed wildlife. They're not pets. Don't ever make them pets. Don't try to make them pets. That is actually against state law. So I'm going to switch over to a little slideshow. So give me half a second here to share my screen. All right, here we go again. That is not what I wanted.
Okay, can you hear me, Asher? Yep.
I can hear you, Laura, but I'll just speak for the rest of the group.
There we go. Perfect. Again, technical difficulty. Sorry about that, guys. Everybody still there? All right. So the title is a little bit different than the session title, but living with wildlife. So this is a basic overview of what you see in this area. Skunks, raccoons, no raccoon up there, armadillos, bobcats, coyotes, rabbits, possums. So no matter where you are, doesn't matter where you are in the country, the world, there is wildlife. We are forced to live around the wildlife. It will live with us, whether we like it or not. We are every year encroaching more and more on their territory. They're not encroaching on ours. We're moving into theirs. So we do need to learn to live with them. They are natural survivors. They will utilize whatever resource they can to keep going, and they are very good at it. As we build into their areas, we actually provide everything that they need, everything they require: food, water, shelter, warm, dry places to live. We provide it all, and protection at that point. They also do provide services to the environment, to our neighborhoods, to everything. They are great for pest control. They are not the nuisances that people like to think. I mean, having a possum around is an awesome service to you and to the neighborhood, to the environment, to the ecosystem. So for our native wildlife, we're going to start with the good one. This is skunks, and I adore skunks. When people hate them, they smell bad. Skunks are awesome. They're great. They're fearless. They are almost completely non-aggressive. They are wonderful. Just don't startle them. They live roughly 7 years. They do stay with their mamas for the first year of their life, sometimes longer. They will eat whatever they can. They are big time insectivores, but they will eat whatever they can find. They do like dark places. They will burrow underneath your foundations, underneath sheds, buildings, anything that they get that really is going to provide them a little dark, cool place to go. That's where they're going to be. They are nocturnal, but it's very, very common to see them out during the daytime. That does not mean they have rabies. That is not it at all. Something could have spooked them out. They could be out just because, or I mean, they could be sick. It doesn't mean rabies. Now with their spray, and yes, they do spray when they're startled. Their spray is very accurate, up to 3 meters. And they can spray 5 to 6 times before they have to stop and recharge, which that can take a while, 7 to 10 days to do it. But you don't want to get it with one spray, let alone 5 or 6. It is extremely potent. If they spray anywhere near you, you can taste it, and you can taste it for a very long time. Does not wash out. That being said, again, they don't spray unless they have to. They warn you first. Their defense is get away. That's what they want. If you walk out and you see them, just leave them alone. Unless you startle them, they're not gonna hurt you. They're not gonna spray. Now, if you do see one out stumbling around, circling, falling down, let animal services know there's something wrong with that skunk. Distemper is pretty big in the skunk population, which that's what it could be, among other illnesses, but that's the big one. I love them. They're great. Here's our native Texan right here, the 9-banded armadillo. They do live all over this area. They love water, so we have a ton of water around here. That's where they're going to be. They live 12 to 15 years. They're actually one of the oldest lived wildlife, but 12 to 15 years. Their shells are bone, not cartilage. It is a bone shell. They don't curl up into a ball like you see a lot of times. There are armadillos that do, but not the 9-banded, which is the only one native to North America. They are omnivores, but they love insects. They love to dig in your yard and get grubs. If you see an armadillo around, you see a little hole through your yard, they're going for your grubs. They're actually doing you a service that way, because the grubs will kill your lawn. The weird thing with armadillos is that when they have, well, the 9-banded armadillos, when they have pups, they actually will have 4 pups that are genetically identical, 100% identical. I don't know any other animal that does that, but that's them. And their defense, other than their shell, is they jump. They jump high. If you startle an armadillo, it'll jump 4 feet in the air. That's why they get hit by cars. So they see them in the road, you drive over the top of them, it startles them because they don't see real well. They jump into your undercarriage, and that's what happens. But they do love water. They love to swim. It's adorable watching them too. They're fast too. One more thing about armadillos before we move on to possums here. If you trap an armadillo, they more than likely will destroy your trap. They're extremely strong as well. Possums, people think that these the opossum, but possums are ugly. I think they're adorable. They're super cute when they're babies. They're super cute when they're adults. They're absolutely adorable. They only live generally 2 years, and a 2-year-old possum is ancient. They are North America's only marsupial, and they have a very short gestation period. Otherwise, they spend 70 to 125 days in a pouch. When they're born, they're about the size of the end of your pinky. Completely defenseless, their mouths barely open. They are completely and totally helpless. What we do here, if we pick up a possum that's been hit by a car, if it's a female, we always check the pouch to see if there are babies inside. They are omnivorous. They are also big time scavengers. Possums eat everything, and they don't care. They eat everything. The big one for homeowners is they eat roaches, they eat crickets, they eat snakes, lizards, mice, rats, and they eat ticks. They're known to eat 4,000 to 5,000 ticks a season. They are great to have around your neighborhood. They don't carry any scary diseases, with the exception of leptospirosis. If your animal is vaccinated for it, you don't have to worry about it. They are resistant to most native snake venom anyway, with the exception of coral snakes. So they'll tangle with the snake, no problem, and they will make it go away. They are also highly, highly resistant to rabies. Their body temperature is too low to support the virus. So normally if they get hit with it, they can shake it off, no big deal. They are extremely durable. Even injuries, broken jaws, broken legs, a lot of times they'll just walk it off. And they are not aggressive. They look scary, they sound scary, they hiss, they carry on, and then you push them and they fall over and play dead. Getting a possum to bite you is a tricky thing, because they don't normally do it, but they will play dead very, very convincingly. They will fall down, they will go limp, they start emitting an odor that smells like a dead animal. They are good at it. I've rehabbed a ton of possums. I love possums. The big scary one that everybody wants to be afraid of, and coyotes are really nothing to be afraid of. They live about 10 to 14 years, the average for most canines. They're fully weaned around 4 months. They are carnivorous, but they will also eat whatever they can find, which is the same as dogs. They will eat fruits and vegetables if they find them. They will eat garbage. They do hunt. They will try not to go after game that's going to potentially hurt them. So normally it's smaller things like rabbits, squirrels, mice, rats. That's why they're good at pest control. They are around. I don't care where you live, they are here. They did a study, and I believe it was 2016, in the city of Chicago, and they had tagged in the city of Chicago 9,000 coyotes living in the city. So being around here where we are, there's coyotes here. They will go after cats and small dogs given an opportunity, but it is not as common as people think. A study that was done on wild coyotes showed that cats made up less than 3% of their diet. They're fast, they fight back, they get away, they're not worth the effort. Coyotes do live in packs, very loose packs. They do not hunt in packs. They live in packs. They normally hunt solo, or you might get a mom and her pups hunting together, but they're not pack hunters like wolves. They also have this really cool thing. I think it's cool. Most people don't. That if you kill them off, if you trap them, relocate, whatever, if you decrease their population, they hyperbreed. And all of a sudden, your handful of coyotes, a pack of 10 could turn into a pack of 60 very quickly. What they've noticed about wildlife is you try to decrease their numbers and they fight. Raccoons are absolutely adorable. They're goofy, they're funny, they're clowns, they're a cat and monkey cross. They're awesome when they're babies. They are extremely dangerous. You watch them, you think they're cute and nice and sweet. That little guy right there coming down the tree is a chainsaw, and he will hurt you. They live 3 to 4 years. They do stay with their moms for a very long time. So you see families. Used to have a family that lived in a tree where I lived. You'd see 5 or 6 of them come down at a time. Raccoons will eat everything. Hey, sorry, Leia wants to butt in. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Barking at a volunteer. All right.
No worries.
So they will eat everything, but they really like crustaceans. Crawdads, crayfish, crabs, whatever you want to call them, shrimp. They love crustaceans, but they will eat everything. When you see them washing their food, they're actually not washing their food. They're dousing their paws. They have extremely sensitive paws, and they love to feel the tactile sensation of different things. The water actually softens their paws and makes it more potent. That's why they do that. One of the funniest things is watching a raccoon eat something sticky because they don't like the way it feels on their hands, so they try to eat it without touching it. They are nocturnal. For the most part, it is very common to see them active during the day. It doesn't mean anything. They can get rabies. The raccoon variant of rabies is not common in this part of the world. It really stopped pretty close to the East Coast and hasn't moved across the US like they thought it would, so it's not as common for raccoons to get rabies. They do not make good pets. They're super cute when they're babies. They do not make good pets. When they reach maturity, they get extremely aggressive. They are very pushy. They are toddlers their entire lives. They get into everything. They destroy everything. And it is very much against the laws to own a raccoon in the state of Texas. Here's the other scary one. Bobcats are common to this area. It is not uncommon to see bobcat, hear bobcat, to find prints. They are around. It's like coyotes. They're just more elusive. They do live solo, so you will only ever see one bobcat unless it's a mama. Even mating for them is a trial. It's a fight. They don't like each other. They don't want to be around each other. But they are here. They're here in our neighborhoods. They're here on the lake. They're here. They are here. They do live about 10 years. They are carnivorous. They're ambush predators, which means that they're going to try to find the absolute best opportunity to get their prey that will not put them in danger. They will go after mostly small game, but it's not uncommon for them to go after goats or sheep. Again, that's going to be a desperation move because those animals can hurt them. They can, when pushed, hunt game up to 8 times their size. It's just, again, not as common because it's dangerous. You see bobcats, just leave them alone. There's a technique for bobcats and coyotes called hazing. Loud noise, make yourself scary, just run them off. They don't want to be here. They don't want to be around you. They're just moving through the area. They don't stay in one particular spot. They do have fairly large territories. Now, other species that are around here, we have beavers. We have nutria, which, if y'all don't know what that is, it is basically a large water rat. They're completely fascinating. They are swimmers. They're like beavers. They like to chew on wood. They do make little dens. They don't mess with them. They will bite. They hurt. They will hurt you, but they're really cool to be around. We do have deer. They're not common here in Rowlett, but they're common in other parts of the area. Neither are hogs, but hogs are all over Texas. We do get quite a variety of snakes. There are a couple that are dangerous, such as copperheads and cottonmouths. Don't mess with them. Just if you see a snake, it's outside, great. If it's in your yard and you're bothering it, and hit it with a water hose, or just make sure it leaves. There's no reason to be worried about them. We do have lizards, the gnolls, skinks, geckos that are around. They're harmless. They're great for pest control. Some people don't like them and worry about the geckos, but they're still there. They're fine. We do have a weasel here in North Texas, a long-tailed weasel. Here in Rowlett, they're fairly close to the lakefront. We do see them occasionally, not very often, but it does happen. They kind of look like small otters. We have moles, voles, shrews, mice, rats, all the fun little ones. There are foxes here in Rowlett. I've seen a handful of those. I think it's super cool to see the foxes. They're little cat dogs, but they are very much omnivores and will eat whatever you get around. If you keep birds outside, they will come for your birds. We do have a large variety of birds. Now, here in North Texas, here in the US, most of our birds are protected. They are protected by an international treaty. They are protected by federal law, the Migratory Bird Act. So if you have birds around, don't kill the birds. You may be committing a federal crime. Some of the big time migratory birds, such as egrets, have been known to take over neighborhoods. If they move in, you're getting moved out until they leave. So they are very protected, and the federal government, U.S. Fish and Game, does take it very, very seriously. And then we also have otters. Otters we normally see around here, here in Rowlett. We'll see them mostly around flooding. When the lake or the rivers or the creeks rise real high, we see them get hit by cars, and that's really the only time we see them, but they are around. Cool little bird on the side here is the caracara. They're basically really pretty vultures, becoming more and more common. Out where I am, I see quite a few of them, which is just happened this year, but they're fascinating. They're absolutely beautiful. Here's our other one. This is the important one here, animal etiquette. So before we move on to this, just again with wildlife, don't feed them. If you're leaving food out for cats, in Rowlett, that's against the law. Don't do that. But if you're feeding the wildlife, you're encouraging wildlife to be around. They're not the nuisance at that point, you are. So don't do that. If you see possums, they're nomadic, they move through, great. Just leave them be. They'll find their own way, and they're harmless. If you have issues with skunks, raccoons, whatever, you can do live traps. But once an animal is trapped, you are legally responsible for the animal's well-being. And if something happens to the animal, that is, per state law, animal cruelty. So don't do that. We do allow trapping here in Rowlett, but do not trap on weekends, holidays, or in inclement weather. And if you are trapping, trying to be kind to the animal, just know that you actually, when we remove an animal from its location, it is detrimental to the animal. They say a wild animal that's relocated only lives about 2 weeks. So just things to consider. Now, animal etiquette. So more than half of households in America own a pet. More than half of households in America own a dog. Less own cats. Still a lot of people own cats. So because of this, you're going to run into cats and dogs in your everyday, in your neighborhood, your neighbors, you yourself. Just be aware that be respectful to your neighbors in regards to your pets, to dogs barking, cats running around, whatever. A lot of people don't enjoy dogs barking. I don't mind dogs barking unless they're mine. I hate it when my dogs bark. Don't mind cats in my yard, that's fine, but not everybody does. So dogs barking is natural. It's part of the way they communicate. It happens. They bark for various reasons, and some of them just because they're bored. Some of them they're alerting, some of them they're playing. Dogs bark. Sorry, I just got distracted. So they're there. What they're primarily trying to do is they're trying to communicate with their pack, which is going to be their owners, that something's going on. So if a dog's barking, especially in your neighborhood, you know where it's coming from. My first suggestion is just talk to your neighbors. Just let them know, hey, the dog's barking. It's bothering me. It's bothering my kids, whatever. Before you file an official complaint, that's going to be your best course of action. Nobody wants to escalate. That is the escalation. So if you just talk to your neighbor, you can hopefully avoid that. Same with cats. Cats are naturally curious. They're hunters. They're going to be out and about everywhere. So if your neighbor has a cat getting into your yard, getting into your garden, getting whatever, just talk to them first. Hopefully that's all where it goes. They solve the problem and no worries. If that's not the case, you can file complaints with us, Animal Services. So when you own a dog, you're responsible for that dog, for the dog's behavior, for, again, them barking, how they are on a leash, how they are in the backyard. Make sure if you're walking a dog, if you're doing it for their stimulation, for their exercise, don't rush them. Just let them be, let them smell, let them see, let them experience the world. They're not there to just exercise. They want their brain to work. They want their nose to work. You're not going to wear your dog out. He's going to wear himself out by smelling around, by utilizing the tools that he's been given. So let him do that. If your dog leaves a mess behind, pick it up. Make the neighborhood nice. Make your neighbors happy. Just so everybody knows, and it's here on the slide, that there is a Rabies Act in the state of Texas, and all but 2 counties in the state of Texas adopted the act, which means that there's a leash law basically over the entire state of Texas. If your dog's out, it has to be on a leash. Here in Rowlett, we do require them. I don't care if it's in your front yard, it has to be on a leash. So make sure your dogs are leashed if they're out of their fence. And then the big one for us, if you put your dog in your backyard, that's fine. Make sure your gate is closed first, and make sure your gate is locked. That way nobody can come through and just open your gate and let your dog out. It's been known that kids will do that. Sometimes the wind will blow it open. If it's locked, that's not going to happen. So please keep your gates closed, keep your gates, and keep them locked. Now with cats, I am not a proponent of outside cats. That being said, I do have outside cats, but I live farther away, and they're my barn cats. They live in my barn. But I'm not a proponent, because for cats, if you want them to live a long, healthy life, they need to be inside where they're protected. The biggest killer of cats is actually cars, not dogs, not coyotes, not people. Well, people, but cars. So the best course of action is to keep them inside. A lot of cities don't have containment release laws for cats. Rowlett is one of those. Some of the cities surrounding us do, but we do not here. So they're going to be out there. They're going to be around. If they're, again, being a nuisance, please let the owner know first. They are fickle. They're opportunistic. They'll go to house. They're looking for food wherever. We actually, after the tornado happened, we had somebody show up for a cat. While that person was trying to reclaim their cat, 7 other families came in to reclaim that same cat. They all thought it was theirs. Just lived on the street and was using every one of their houses. So they will do that. If your cat disappears for a little bit, it's not uncommon for it to be at a neighbor's house. If you do let your cats out, just again, be cognizant of your neighbors, the neighbor property, because they can be fairly destructive. There are also community cats, which that cat would have been a community cat going from 7 families, but there are also feral cats that are being cared for by neighborhoods, by colony managers. They are there. And then there is, because feral cats are basically wildlife at this point, every city in the US, I don't care where you are, every city has feral cats. And every city says they have a bad problem. Everybody's in the same boat. So here in Rowlett, we did work with the Friends of Rowlett Animals, and we have a TNR program. It's a trap, neuter, return, to help lessen the feral cats. And what that does is you take them, get them spayed or neutered, and we re-release them back into a colony to help keep numbers down, help keep kittens down, help keep diseases down. It's been very successful. And in the community, y'all may not see it as well, but it has been very successful. You see a dog running at large, they're telling you what they want you to know. And what you're looking for is loose body language means a friendly, happy dog. Stiff body language means a defensive dog. Just because the dog is barking at you, just because the dog is possibly lunging towards you, does not mean the dog is being aggressive. He is warning you. They're talking to you. Stay back. The big thing, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, huge pet peeve, but I've been doing this for a long time, is that when somebody tells me a dog tries to bite them, dogs don't try. They will bite you if they want to bite you. Unless you physically stop them, they will bite you if they want to bite you. So there's no try to it. It's a pet peeve of mine. Sorry, I've been doing it 24 years. So what they'll normally do is if you get close to their house, they stiffen up, they turn around, they bark, and they will stay right where they are. It's an invisible line that they are telling you, do not cross this line. Small dogs are the worst about it. A small dog will bite you, and a small dog will bite you by circling behind you and getting you in the back of the leg. They're not going to get you from the front. They get you from behind. They're the worst. Big dogs warn you, good, they'll stay away. Little dogs, no, they're not afraid. If you do see a dog out, even if it's friendly, don't grab it by the collar. That is a surefire way to get bit. They don't like it. They don't know you. A lot of dogs have never been grabbed by the collar. A lot of dogs don't even wear collars. But if you see a collar, don't grab the collar. If you see it as tags, just give us a call. We're more than happy to come out and check it out. And if you are walking your dog and you see a loose dog, do not approach the dog. Don't walk towards the dog. Walk away from the dog. If you see a dog just run around loose and your dog is on a leash, by walking your dog towards it, you're actually asking for a fight. If your dog's getting into a fight, one or both dogs could be hurt, as well as you. Dog fights are one of the biggest ways people get bit. And a lot of it is because you walked your dog towards another loose dog. So give us a call, walk the other way, and we'll come out there and see what we can do. If you suspect an animal's in danger, this is a big one in the community. If you suspect an animal's in danger, give us a call. We will check it out. If it's food, water, shelter, the dog's been outside in the cold and the rain, the dog's been barking 24 hours a day. If you suspect there's something wrong with the dog or cat or whatever, give us a call. We will do welfare checks. We do them almost daily, and it's fine. Most of them don't amount to anything, which is great. But we would rather not. We would rather it not amount to anything. But we do welfare checks. We do contact owners. We do check on the situations. Some of them will turn into animal cruelty charges. That's, again, why we need to be called. Don't let it be. Don't be afraid to be the person who says, I don't want to make it a big deal. It could be a big deal. And by calling us, you may actually take that dog, that cat, that horse out of a bad situation. You may actually save its life. So if you suspect something, give us a call. We will check it out. This guy right here was actually found on the lakefront of 66, right off 66. But on the lakefront, running around by a former employee of the city and her husband, who actually is an animal service officer for Garland, with a collar embedded in his neck. It had to be surgically removed from his neck. This is baby boy. If they wouldn't have found him, if they wouldn't have called, whatever, he very possibly would have died from just an infection, but don't know how long it had been there. He was the nicest dog. He is in a home now. Everything turned out great, but he is super sweet. I don't know how my time looks today. I was trying to, technical issues, so I'm trying to catch up.
No worries. Thank you so much, Asher. Are there any questions? Oh, okay. So I think Asher is having an issue with his audio. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type it.
We'll get the first question. Can you get leprosy from armadillos?
Oh.
Yes, you can, if you don't cook them properly. So if you're going to eat an armadillo, make sure it's fully cooked. My suggestion is not to eat an armadillo. But that's how you get leprosy, is by eating undercooked armadillos. It became popular in the Depression. They called them Hoover hogs. They will still have festivals across the South where they eat armadillos. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. So anybody else have anything?
Oh, I see that Kathy has a question.
I don't know anything about the Spca Working Cat program. It might be the same. It kind of denotes the same as a working cat. So we do the TNR. There's also a barn cat program that the Friends of Wild Animals also helps with. That'll take feral cats, get them spayed, neutered, vaccinated into barns, warehouses, stuff like that as rodent control. It's actually where I got most of my barn cats, was actually through that program. It's has been as popular in the last couple of years, but the TNR has been huge, but we still do have that. Best way they can support local animal services, make sure your animals are vaccinated. Spayed and neutered is great because it keeps them from getting out as much. Check your fences, keep your animals in, and adopt. We also do take donations, not of pets. We don't want pet donations. We want pet supplies. Financial donations are great. Food, toys, blankets, towels, newspaper, anything like that. We will take whatever. We'll never turn that away. That's huge for the animals here. But the big thing, our goal, I'd rather work myself out of a job than and not have any animals in the shelter, if that's the way we need to be, is keep them out of the shelter. That's what we want. The best way to educate about bobcats, people have it in their minds that the bobcats, that coyotes are the boogeyman, that they're coming for their animals. If you see them, that it's not the case. They're cats. I mean, if you see a feral cat, you've seen a bobcat. That's just how they are. They're not big scary things. It just takes people getting over the stigma that there's this scary animal there that is going to attack. It is incredibly rare for bobcats or coyotes to attack people. It does happen, but it is incredibly rare. The problem is that you get media stories that will latch onto them from across the country because it's sensational. So you might have one bobcat attack in 20 years that amounts to anything, which I'm sure everybody knows about the one that happened in Georgia. I believe it was 2 years ago, but that bobcat had rabies. That's why it attacked. It had nothing to do with the bobcat being a bobcat. Do residents need to register dangerous pets like pythons with animal services? I would not call a python a dangerous pet, but no, we only register dogs, cats, ferrets, and pigs here in Rowlett. It has to do with a rabies vaccine. So per state law, if we require registration, which most cities in Texas do, it is attached to the rabies vaccine. So as far as a python, as of right now, the ordinance says you can't have any lizard that gets over 6 feet. Snake that gets over 6 feet, lizard over 3 feet. But no, you don't have to register pythons. I've got a 7-foot call boa at home right now that we found in a storage unit. So is it safe to let small dogs loose in the backyard with bobcats, daytime different than nighttime? No. So if you suspect you see a bobcat, there's one report in your area, watch your dog. Doesn't have to be all the time, but don't let it out there by itself. Again, they have a large territory that they move through. So if you see one, a day or two, you're fine. After that, it's moved on. If you get a report from your particular neighborhood, again, just for a day or two, just watch it. The bobcat will not mess with a big dog. Your big dog is actually more of a danger to the bobcat. It is very common for, if a bobcat got in your yard, your dog would attack it and your dog would kill it. That's just how it is. So there would be injuries. It's not, I think here, since I've been here in Rowlett, so I've been here 6 years, we have not had a single dog attack a bobcat. The only ones that we've picked up have been hit by cars, and we get calls about bobcats probably once a week. Sounds good.
Any other questions for Asher? We have about 1
Anything else?
minute.
No, we do have some local wildlife rehabbers. So if you do see injured wildlife, if you get something like that, just give us a call. We will take care of it. If we can't get it to a rehabber right away, we are very well versed on caring for orphaned wildlife. If you see baby bunnies, leave them be. Mom will come back and get them. They only take care of their young at night and in the mornings. Otherwise, they are just in the burrows, in the nest, wherever. If they're in your backyard, you can put them in a box, move them right outside where they're going to be safe, and just leave them be. If they're there for more than a couple of days and they have not moved, that's when you call us. Same with kittens. Don't steal kittens. Do you see kittens? Leave them be. Let mom take care of them. Something happened to mama, that's different. If the kittens look like they're starving, they're sick, that's different. Well, let's just leave them be. It's called kidnapping. No cities like kidnapping. No shelters like kidnapping. They have a better chance with their mamas.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Asher. I'm going to go ahead and type that. Thank you, Asher. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this breakout session. The keynote session is going to be starting at 10:35, so in about 10 minutes. So that's going to be in the main, I guess, in the main room. So you can. We're going to stick around here a little bit. Feel free to reach out to Asher if you have additional questions. But thank you so much for joining us, and you are released. Thanks, Asher.
Yes.
I know. Oh, I'm going to stop recording.